Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be updating you on my Jaguar 420 project, which I've done a lot of work on. First I'll show you a bit of the current situation, and then I'll show you some metalworking which I've done. Quick disclaimer, this obviously isn't a professional restoration, and it just has to meet my standards, as my main goal is to get it back on the road again. So there is obviously a lot of room for improvements to be made. So let's get right into the progress I've made so far. First I removed the engine to power wash the car, because the manifolds were already removed and I didn't want any water in it. So I used the forklift to take it out, which was not as easy as it should have been, as I did it inside, having not much space to the ceiling, which made the job kind of tedious. And yeah, then I power washed the front half of the car. As I already had the car outside, I decided to primer the engine compartment, as it was in quite good condition. I used the grinder and sandblasting to expose the metal, and then primered it with some anti-rust primer. I also worked on its many rust spots, starting at the front light housings. Most spots were repaired by a previous owner using fiberglass on top of the rust. The front of the car was no exception. After removing everything that shouldn't be part of the car's body, I cut out the rusty bits. I reconstructed the inner layer of the light housings and welded it in first. Later I built sheets for the outer layer, which I then cut slits into to bend it in to match the original panels. Overall, the car's front turned out quite nice, with only minimal work left. The front left fender is a whole different story that I uncovered. I also removed the chrome bumpers, which I'll be leaving off of the car, as it looks cleaner without them, I think, and it removes some weight. The fuel tanks were placed to the sides of the spare wheel compartment. I removed them alongside some of the rusted through exhaust, as I'll be moving the tank inside the spare wheel compartment to simplify the car. With its two fuel pumps it normally has, and could make it more balanced weight-wise. These are the original tanks, which each have their own filler door. On the original car you were able to switch between them. This is where I've stored the engine and gearbox currently, alongside the manifolds and the air intake. I laid it on the side to get it under the storage rack. The curved thing you can see is the original air intake, which attaches to the two carburetors it normally has. But as I'm doing a triple carb setup, I already picked up the air intake of the Jaguar 420G, which is the Jaguar 420's bigger brother, using the same engine but with 3 carbs. These are the HD8 SU carburetors I am talking about. The ones currently shown are of a different car and are already cleaned to show you what they look like. I'll still need the third one, and I'll have to replace the needles for a triple carb setup. Now I'll show you how I go about fixing the car's body. The usual procedure would be to replace the whole panel that is damaged, which would be far too expensive for me, with body panel prices reaching from like 100 euros up to 5,000. So I try to replace just individual sections that are affected by the rust. Sadly, I don't have footage with every step of work I do for one individual piece I repaired, so I will cut together each step from one section of the car. In this case, the rear left wheel well, hopefully getting the process across. So after removing any work someone previously did that I'm not happy with, then I identify any unusable parts and mark them and go ahead cutting them out. Then I use bits of cardboard to reconstruct the panel, as it is way easier for me to work with and get the precise form that is required than just using a metal sheet directly. Next, I trace this template on the metal and cut it out using an angle grinder. After deburring the sheet, I bend it into shape, fitting it exactly as I needed to. Now there is only one thing left to do: welding the panel in. I usually use welding magnets or pliers to hold the panel in place and make my first welds. First making some dots, which I later fill in. The grinder is one of my most important tools, as it allows me to hide imperfections and retry if I mess anything up. All in all, I'm quite happy with the way the rear left wheel well turned out. All the rust is now replaced with solid sheet metal. I am still undecided on the shape of the wheel arches, which I'll cut out later. The metal construction you can see under the car's body is something I am looking forward to sharing with you in an upcoming video. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing.